What's up, guys? Nick and Brennan here.
Yo.
Hobo entrepreneurs, and we're Zoom conferencing here because we're too lazy to go to each other's houses, even though we live close. But what we are wanting to kind of show you today, I'm going to give you a little sneak peek here, is I call this the crone matrix of greatness. And
I like the name. I hope it sticks.
So basically, I'll give you a little bit of like background info. Like 4 years ago, Nick was my mentor, and he hates that word, but he was teaching me
Guru
some stuff about entrepreneurship. And I said, I just want to jam with you about business ideas. He said, well, I have to shovel some crap out of some weeds out of a backyard for like 5 hours tonight. If you come help me, then you can pick my brain. And I said, done. I showed up with a shovel, and we just shoveled together. We were like, okay, friends. And at that time, while we're shoveling garbage, he doesn't even probably remember this, but he told me this. He basically unveiled the crone graph of greatness. And he said, Brendan, you can be either the best, the fastest, or the cheapest. And if you're one of those, you're going to be okay in business. If you're two of those, you'll make tons of money. And if you try to focus on all three, you will inevitably die. And then he just kept shoveling and forgot about it. And for me, I was like, oh man, the words of the wizard, and I started thinking about it, and I came home and I put together this graph, and I started plotting businesses on it. And it actually helped me to know where to start. And so there's a lot of people that ask and comment on our videos, where do I start? How do I begin, as an entrepreneur? How do I know if it's a good business idea or not? Well, hopefully today will help you. Every time you have a business idea, I want you to plot it on the crone graph of wizardry. I keep changing the name, but I want you to plot it on the graph. And if it meets two of the categories, it's worth pursuing. Anything you want to add before we jump in, Nick?
No, I think it's fantastic. Let's see this graph, man.
Okay.
I love it.
So here we go. So as you can see here, you have the best. You can be the best. And that means quality or service, right? So we're talking like, Louis Vuitton, right? And we'll plot them in a minute, where it's just like crazy expensive, super good, Trump Tower type stuff. The quality of the service, it's amazing. It's the best. You can't beat it. Okay, then we have the cheapest. So that's pretty much just referring to price. It's the cheapest for the customer to purchase. And then you have the fastest, which can mean either the most convenient to find because they're everywhere, or their ads are there in your face or whatever, or in terms of like actual delivery and speed. So these are the three categories of business. All businesses fall in one of these, or two of these, or three of these. Now, as you can see here, I've got these little green zones, which means for example, this green zone is they are the best and the cheapest. They try to focus on being both. And that is where the true money lies within your industry, picking two and focusing on those. Or you can be the best quality and the fastest, the most convenient, or you can be the cheapest and you can be the fastest. Like you see, I've got McDonald's here. Perfect example of somebody who is super cheap. You can get a burger for like $3 or $1. And they're the fastest and the most convenient because they're literally on every corner. And that's a good example. So they make a lot of money. And then there's this dark red zone here. And that's
the trap, man.
It's the trap. If you try to start a business that focuses on all three, you have the best prices, you have the best turnaround time, or you're always available to answer the phone, and you're the best, you give them the best quality in the market, you will inevitably die. Trust me.
You know what? Just kind of looking at that, the first thing that comes to mind about that red zone, specific, for me, I've been in business for just over a decade now. Right. And I think the first like 6 years, I stuck in kind of the slow lane model where I didn't like do anything because I was so picky. Yeah. And, I was looking for the golden goose, and it's perfectly in that red zone. And let's be honest, it's so rare to even find.
Sure.
And you think it's going to be perfect. And then when you actually get there, it actually flops really, really bad.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I'm not saying lower your standards, but pick two of these. And there's so many businesses that do well, 2 out of the 3.
Well, and let's talk about that red zone to start, right? Well, why not? So I'm a photographer, videographer by trade. Let's talk about that. So a good example of this in the photography world, if I'm a freelance photographer, okay, the best means I use top quality gear, professional only. Cheapest is obvious. I charge dirt prices. And fastest meaning I have the best turnaround time. Tomorrow, you're going to have your wedding photos done.
Now, question for you, Brendan.
Sure.
Have you tried each of these as a videographer?
Yes.
Photographer?
Yes, all of them.
Okay.
And I know people who are currently trying all three. Literally, they use the best gear. They have horrible cheap prices, and they're fast. And what happens is burnout. Every single time.
Burnout, dude. There's nothing worse than burnout.
No, because you're literally like the one person I'm thinking of stays up all night after the shoot, okay, to get the shoot done, and they deliver it. They're making $1,000 a shoot, but they're working they're losing their entire life, and the money is not worth losing their life, and they have to afford this awesome gear which they can't buy with the cheapest equipment, and so they're literally laboring around the clock to have no money ever, because you have to keep funneling your money into becoming and staying the best. And so they burn out and they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm done. And another
burnout as an entrepreneur is like a real thing, especially any 100%, hustler 100%. Who like gets in it and he's doing 15 hours a day. Like every single time that happens, they have no longevity. They're going to be done in 7, 10, 14 days. And they're just like, I know days, like even yesterday, I was in Facebook ads for like 8 hours. Yeah. And my brain was literally melting. And I was like, I never want to do this again. It's my bread and butter. Right. Yeah. And so like that burnout is real. Even in one day, I'm just like, this is so mind taxing. I just need to be done. You know what I mean?
Totally. And you can do that because you're getting paid very, very well to do that. But if you're the cheapest and you're being the best and you're spending 8 hours and giving them all your time, yeah, you're screwed. So let's talk about a real world case study of the red zone. Okay. I don't know if any of you watching have remember this, but like a year ago or maybe 2 years ago, this company popped up out of nowhere that sounded too good to be true. And it was called MoviePass.
MoviePass. Yeah.
I'm going to plot MoviePass. It was
you had a membership there, and I was like,
absolutely
oh my gosh, they're going to like 3 movies a day.
I put them out of business, man. And so what happened is, that, for those of you that don't know, it was $10 a month, and it was unlimited movies at movie theaters, one a day.
So that's the quality. Yep.
The price of one ticket, you could get 30 movies a month, which I did. And so basically, let's go through this. They were the best possible deal out there, sending you to movie theaters.
Yep.
Cheapest, the price of one ticket, and it was the most convenient. It was the fastest because the ads were everywhere. It was in your face. It was so easy to sign up. You pop in your email, put in a credit card, boom, you're done. And dude, everybody was like, how are they making money?
So unsustainable.
It doesn't make any sense how they're making any money. And within like 6 months, they declared bankruptcy and they disappeared from the face of the planet. And I remember because you had taught me this before that happened.
By the way, did you cry when you couldn't see movies?
Absolutely. And I wept because it was a great service. But I also knew one of the reasons why I was seeing so many movies so quickly is because I knew that it was so short-lived, because I understood the crone graph of wizardry that they were all three. You can't sustain it. You know, they had to pay $10 every time I went and saw a movie to the movie theater. They had to pay the movie theater.
Yeah.
And
make sense.
No. So they literally were paying $300 a month for me to give them $10 a month. And they had some long-term Netflix plan and it didn't work. So that's a perfect example of the red zone. You can be the red zone in just a freelance business. You can be the red zone in any type of business. But the reality is you can't be everything. And so when you approach a business, pick two and focus on them. So Nick, what's another business you want to plot here on the graph? What's a company that you use often? Sure. Go ahead.
Let's see here. What's a good national one that everyone would know? Yeah, I'm thinking like Starbucks, right? Okay. Everyone loves Starbucks. Where would you put Starbucks on here? Probably best and fastest, right?
Yeah. Correct. Because they're not, it's like $9 a cup of coffee and you can make it at home.
Seriously.
Cheapest and fastest version of coffee is home.
Yeah. Well, we were at the airport and Nikki spends like $50 for like two croissants, while we're just waiting on, for our airplane, to come. And it was just like, oh my gosh, Starbucks. But a lot of people love Starbucks.
Yeah.
But the quality is amazing.
Yeah, exactly. It's the best. You get all the whipped cream, and they really give you the best coffee, hot chocolate, whatever. And it's the most convenient because it is everywhere. Starbucks is on every corner, and it always has a line.
Yep.
And but they're also not the cheapest. They're really expensive. But that's an example of success. I mean, you can see that they picked two. And like a lot of entrepreneurs, they say, my business model is going to be the cheapest. And that's how I'm going to win, is I'm always going to be the cheapest. And hopefully this will help you understand that is a strategy, but not unless it's paired with another one of these. And sometimes it's better to not be the cheapest because there might be a need. If you are in an industry where everything is so cheap and so fast, there is actually probably a need for a high quality version of whatever that is. Like when was the last time you had a high quality concrete job done? Right. I mean,
right. Yeah.
Everybody's going to give you, or solar, they're going to give you the cheapest quote ever.
Yeah.
When was the last time you had solar that played solar panels that played music or something? I don't know. So I'm going to plot one now, and then Nick, we'll just go back and forth here.
Let's hear it, man.
I'm going to plot one in the best and the cheapest because you might be looking at this saying that's a unicorn. That's not possible. I would argue that Trader Joe's is the best quality for the cheapest price. Go into any Trader Joe's and like frozen food. I hate frozen food. It's super gross. Trader Joe's frozen food is unbelievable, man. There's this little tikka masala, and I will eat that like 5 times a week because it's so good. It tastes just like it does from a restaurant, even though
does it have the rice included?
It's got it all, man. The rice.
Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing.
Masala. Oh yeah, and it's crazy cheap. It's like $1.50 for one of these, which is like 10% of what it would cost me to have that same quality in an Indian restaurant, not including tip. And so the reason how they're able to do that is they sell their own stuff. For the most part, Trader Joe's only sells Trader Joe's brand. So they control the entire supply chain. Therefore, they're able to keep their costs down because there's not people making a profit on every single step of the supply chain. So that's an example of the best and the cheapest. Nick?
Well, let me throw another best and cheapest.
Please, go ahead.
And I'll make it our company, Tolman Media. I don't know if that's a cop-out, but like...
No, that's fine. That's okay.
We talk about that from time to time, and we offer the best quality photography, videography for by far the best price. So we have, $1,800 photo video wedding package. I mean, no one can touch that. If they hire 2 individual companies, we're not even half the price. So we're we definitely fit the model there. And
it's a, I'm going to say this, it's a multi-million-dollar company and it worked, right? I mean, best and cheapest, it does work to have this model, but I will tell you, it's super hard to start a company because you're going to have to work your butt off to figure out how can you deliver the best for the cheapest. But once you can crack that code, the one thing that will allow you to get the cheapest labor for the best, but also produce the best results, if you can figure that out, there's a lot of money. I'm going to throw one here on, I'm going to throw one on just the best to show you that there's also these.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's see those too. I'm
gonna say dine-in movie theaters. So I love these because
they're so fun, man.
They're fun, but it's like $25 a ticket, and it's not the cheapest. It's not convenient because they're really rare to find. So it's one of those things that is the best, but it's in decline. These are going to be gone, in my opinion, within 15 years. Movie theaters might be gone within 15 years. But that's an example of the best, something that's only the best and therefore struggling a little bit, right? They can't be around forever. Whereas these other ones in the green, they're going to be around forever. I'm going to do one more on the best just to give you an idea here is like Louis, I think that's how you spell it, Louis Vuitton, right? Like,
yeah, good question, man. Who knows?
Who knows? Maybe there's an S, but crazy expensive bags that are going to cost a ton, but at some point they'll fade, and maybe they do really well. But honestly, you only buy one of these once in a lifetime. Whereas Starbucks, you're buying it 3 times a week, kind of an idea because they've got the green zone. So Nick, what's another one? We'll plot it on here.
I'm just thinking like, what's any business and where would you plot it? I'm thinking like a Nickel City, a Nickel Mania, where you just like cheap
arcade
entertainment and you go in, it's like kind of gross. Is it fast? I don't know if it's fast, but it's definitely cheap. I could take the kids there, enter this like kind of gross looking building and all the used arcade stuff. But you know
yeah
what? It's definitely cheap. And if
yeah
I want to spend $15, for 2 hours with the kids, they're all super
totally
thrilled. You know what I mean? They love it.
absolutely. So it's the cheapest, it's not the best, it's really not the most convenient or fastest because they're dying. And
Yeah.
I agree. Now I'm gonna throw one more in the cheapest category as well. If you've ever heard of wish.com.
Oh yeah, dude. That's like cheap garbage.
Yeah.
Everyone loves cheap garbage and it breaks after 2 uses, right?
Yeah, totally. So wish.com takes you 3 months to get it, but you spend like $2 for like a wedding dress or something
Free
like
shipping 9 months later.
Free shipping from China. I mean, they literally are just the world's biggest
Drop ship from China. It's terrible, man.
Okay, Nick,
what fits in the fastest only category? I mean, McDonald's definitely has that combo, which is makes them great.
Yeah.
I'm thinking almost just like these, and maybe this even fits in the cheap and the fastest category together, but I like those little Mexi shacks. So you drive through Mexican and you know what I mean? And it's a burrito and they're cheap and they're fast. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I'll put but Beto's is the one that I know.
Yeah, Beto's is kind of what I'm thinking of.
Jeez, I killed it. So
but what fits fast alone?
So here's my thought. These are a little harder to quantify.
Sure. Yeah.
But I would put any kind of a service, like a lock picking service.
Oh yeah.
Where you need them now, and
that's true. Okay.
I'm locked out of my house now, or like a payday loan, right? It's another example where it's like you get it, you walk out the door with 50 grand, but you're gonna lose your second child in 3 days because it's like 8,000% interest. Whereas
and that's definitely speedy, even like emergency. When they fire or mold or if there's flooding in a basement or something, those type of companies as well. I mean, and they have to be fast, and they charge top dollar.
Oh yeah, but they're not the best. They're gonna send their grimy. Like I had I literally had I locked myself out a couple weeks ago, and I called some company. You don't have time to shop around. You're locked out. And some Turkish guy showed up. And I'm not racist at all, but this Turkish guy, I was sitting in my Tesla outside my house, and this Turkish guy was eyeing my Tesla. And after I went inside, he was walking around my car, and I was like, I'm going to get robbed tonight because now he knows where to find a Tesla. And there was zero, you could tell there was zero customer service training in this company. And it was $300, by the way. So there's zero customer service training, not the best, but hey, they were available when I needed them. And that's a perfect example here.
So let me ask you, I mean, where do you suggest starting? Do you say, hey, try one of each of these and then figure out what's working? What's your experience, Brandon?
It's interesting because I really think that I just said this in my last video, but every industry is saturated with one of these,
Sure.
Fast food is saturated with the cheapest
everywhere
and the fastest. And so I would argue that why do they not have to advertise? Because I would say they're the best and the fastest.
Yeah, In-N-Out definitely fits there.
I think that's a little more expensive to order than than maybe the dollar menu at McDonald's or something like that, right? So I think that that's a good example of somebody who found what is the trend in my industry. So if you're watching this and you are a programmer or a software developer, right? What is the trend, right? I mean, I from if you're in India, you're the cheapest and you're the fastest, but you're not the best. Nick and I have built multiple softwares in India. It was $2,000, which is super cheap, but and it was fast. It was within 4 or 5 weeks. But dude, it was garbage, and the amount of problems that we have had with that software every day has been a nightmare. So,
well, and let me put my spin on it.
Sure.
If I were to judge the three, almost every single person wants the best quality, right? I mean, quality is hands down. And I'm thinking of like a physical service, like the photography and videography. Would you hire someone who wasn't good? No.
Right.
The answer is probably no.
Right.
So like if you're going to try to sell something, you probably want to be in that quality category, as well as I think, if I want to sell the most volume, I want to be the cheapest.
Right.
So again, I'm a little biased here that the Tolman Media, I think that's my favorite green zone, is because, I mean, they want to hire the best and everyone's on a budget. And now we're kind of like Walmart. We're doing crazy volume, and that's where we want to be.
So let's talk about that for a second. So yeah. I very distinctly remember a time when we were when we were in the red zone as Tolman Media. It's before you joined up as my partner.
Yeah.
But we had, so in the photography world, we offered the best portfolio, the best quality. We required only the best people to come on and work for us, so that our brides got the best quality. We were the cheapest because we charged, you get both a photographer and videographer for the price of one. And we had I think it was a 5 to 10 day turnaround time, which is
incredible. By the way, I waited a freaking year before I got my, no. I waited like 5 years to get it from my brother-in-law. And it's just like, well,
usually it's months, right? Most photographers, they take their time. And we were in the red zone and we were struggling, because what happened is we were selling all day long. Because we were the best and the cheapest. And then the fulfillment wasn't possible. And then we started ending up having to give refunds because we couldn't be as fast as the volume. We had our videographers were like, I shot 8 this week.
Yeah.
In 7 days. Like, how do you expect me to edit 8 wedding videos, in 5 to 10 days when I'm shooting 8 next week as well? Yep. It's not possible. So I remember sitting the team down, pulling up this matrix and saying, all right, guys, we have to make a permanent shift to the best and the cheapest, because that's how we sell. And we need to drop the fact that we're the fastest. And so it means making some concessions. So what does that mean? That means that we now no longer have a phone number that brides can dial 24 hours a day to yell at us. They have to send us an email and we'll get back to them within 3 days, which is a huge shift. That means we have to change our turnaround time is now 15 to 30 days.
Yep.
That's a lot longer than 5 to 10. I remember we had to make that shift because we were in the red zone. And I think sometimes in order to make enough money to start, you have to kind of work the red zone and hate your life for a bit, I would say. And then once you have proven that you have a business and a brand and a name, you have to get out of the red zone and pick a green, right? Because sometimes if you're going up against the big dogs, or it just seems you can't make money, the easiest way to make money is to be the red zone, man. That's why people do it. And that's why people burn and die.
It's just so unsustainable. You literally burn, man. It's terrible.
So I would, to answer your question, I would say it's not if you're literally just I got to start, pick an industry. Let's go back to the software example and start in the red zone, and then learn what kind of clients you have attracted, and then pick one of the greens to move into. So for example, what software company on the planet Earth is going to offer you a flawless piece of software for $5,000 within 3 weeks?
Good luck, right?
If you can do that and get 5 clients, hey, you got $25,000 to start your business now, right? And you will have worked your balls off, and it will be really hard for you, but you'll have $25,000.
Yeah, you have to pivot, otherwise you're gonna be toast, man. And
then you say, okay, well now I'm gonna do what nobody else is doing, and you have a name for yourself, you have repeat clients, you have referrals, you have a business at that point. Yeah. At that point, I would say, okay, now I'm gonna transition into the best and the fastest. I'm going to offer a $20,000 software in 3 weeks, which is unheard of, but I'm going to get you an MVP in 3 weeks. And, now you actually already have clients and everybody. And it's, yeah. So I would argue that sometimes you have to start in the red zone if you want to start with no capital, right?
That's definitely the place you have to be.
Nick and I have never done a business together where we've ever accepted capital, even from ourselves.
Because we don't need to.
No, because we operate in the red zone and then quickly shift into the green.
Yep.
And so I think that I've never started a business with capital. I've always just started a business with the money that I get from the sales and then figured it out from there. And the easiest way is to start taking money and fulfilling jobs. And it's exhausting.
It's so bad, man.
As we speak right now, Nick and I are doing the Zoom call. One of our businesses, you know, we've literally been in and out the last few days. We're starting a painting business. We'll make a video on that in a second. And both of us have been working around the clock to get this thing up. We have our other third partner who's awesome, who has been fulfilling jobs 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. while we're doing all the back end work and information. We're taking a break with this video.
We're in red zone right now.
We're in red zone.
Yep.
And we'll get to the green zone. So,
but guess what? I'm planning on only being in the red zone for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yep.
And you better believe, we kind of started off on the right foot, which is we all decided from the start to replace ourselves in business.
Totally.
Instead of to stay in it and stay in the red zone, right? And the only way to get out and sustain is, systems and whatnot. So like for me, I'm just like, well, let's get out of this, man. And so if I operate 150% for 2-3 weeks, and then, I put the systems in place so I can take the step away, then, the business can do what it needs to do and I don't have to burn out.
Totally. Yeah. And absolutely. I mean, 100% agree. I think that like going back to the conversation earlier too, it's so possible to start a business with no capital at all. But let me give an example of what it looks like if you try to start in a green zone. It's a little harder. So sure. My brother just called me like an hour ago and he's like, I got pitched solar. I got this solar and they're offering me $50 a month in-house financing. And they're going to go install all the solar. And so, it's a best company for a cheap price for him. However, let's look at the solar. They're not making, it's probably going to cost them $5,000 to $10,000 to install the solar on his house. He's going to do in-house financing like $20,000 over, or, I think it was like 15 to 20 grand or something over 20 years, meaning solar company needs to have tons of money to lend out to him because they're lending their money by paying the workers and buying the solar and putting it on his house. And they're not going to collect that for 20 years.
For a long time, dude. That's
he's not going through a bank that's writing him a check. So if you try to start in the green zone, if I try to start that solar company, I need a ton of money to be able to finance the operation. And then in 20 years, I'll be happy because I will have collected it back. But it's easier to start in the red zone and then work your way into a green when you can actually afford to work your way into a green.
I love it, man.
Okay.
Well, hopefully this is helpful, man. I think, honestly, this is some great advice. And, pick 2, don't go 3 unless you're going to burn out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Well, yeah, hopefully, guys, this was helpful. I hope that, we kind of been through the ringer a lot. We failed a lot of times. We've learned a lot of stuff, but I think if you adhere to those guidelines, I'll post a link to that particular image we just made in the comments. So, hey, if you want to download it and brainstorm, I'll also post an empty one. So if you want to go start plotting businesses yourself, and
love it.
It's fun to as you go to a restaurant or use certain services like Apple or Microsoft or whatever, it's fun to plot them and see where they are, why they got where they are. And you can actually see a trend between you. Like, what do you value? When you do business with people, which of the two do you value the most? It's kind of fun to see that. And so I'll post a blank one and a full one. But thanks, guys. Anything to add, Nick?
Nope. Let's rock and roll.
Okay. You guys are awesome. Have a good day.